What is up, everybody? Welcome to Happy Hour at Happy Hour. We have Bucks, Hawks, Game 4, huge Game 4, but unfortunate news for tonight. Trae Young out of Game 4, deep bone bruise. Woj put in his tweet that he went every avenue trying to get to play in this game, but Trae Young out right now for going into the night. It's going to be an interesting affair. We'll get into that later. As we get later to the preview, closer to tip-off, 8:30 on TNT. But we're going to start up with the story of last night, the Los Angeles Clippers winning 116-102. And Donovan, I can't say it any better than that right there. You put it out there last night into the world. We're going to LA, and it's because of that man right there, Paul George, showing up in the year 2021.
Man, just no one likes to keep fans guessing like Paul George, dude. Like, he gave himself his nickname, then it came back to bite him in the ass, and now every game it's like, is he playoff P? Is he pandemic P? Last night, 3-4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Actually, like 3-2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. You would have sworn that Paul George was blowing this game. Mm-hmm. He had a sloppy turnover, then fouled Cam Johnson in transition on a beautiful and one by him. And just it really looked like he was blowing it. And then after that, on the free throw, he fouled Torrey Craig. He went to the line for free throws. Then I sent out that first tweet, and it was I don't even remember what I said now. I trolled him, though. It was something about playoff. I trolled him hard. I thought it was, playoff, please excuse me while I blow this game. That's what it was. And then I had to, correct it later with this here, what you guys are seeing. Playoff, pack your shit, we're going back to LA. Because he turned it around. And he was having a good game up until that point, but I really thought we were going to see him blow that, where the Clippers had multiple 15-point leads in that game last night, just kept letting the Suns crawl back. But alas, playoff, pack your shit, we're going back to LA. He did that. He sealed it. Huge game from Reggie Jackson, too. But, I mean, yeah, playoff P deserves his flowers for last night. You have his stat line here, 41, 13, and 6. He shot 75% from the field. Definitely his best shooting performance of the playoffs. Shooting like his team, the guy he's going up against, DeAndre Ayton, who's been shooting unbelievable in the playoffs. But yeah, huge win for the Clippers, staying alive, going back to LA.
He playoff played us, bro. He playoff played us. You touched on it a little bit there. The thing that jumped out the most in that game was the Clippers went small the whole game, and they basically they slowed down DeAndre Ayton. Like, DeAndre Ayton only had 10 points on 5 of 9 shooting. He still had 11 rebounds, only the 1 assist. But you could tell on like the pick and rolls with him and whoever, whether it was Booker, whether it was Chris Paul, whether it was Campaign, they figured out a good way to defend that with that small lineup. Marcus Morris, shout out Marcus Morris also showing up. We were talking about it yesterday. Who's the other Clipper that's going to show up? It's been Reggie Jackson a lot, and he played outstanding as well. But Marcus Morris had 18 points in the first half and just hitting everything. And they've needed that all series. He's been missing for them. And honestly, if he had 22 points, 9 of 16 shooting last night, if he's playing like that, and they're getting, they don't even need the 41 from Paul George. If Paul George is giving his normal like 30, and those two guys can play up to that level for just 2 more games, this team could find themselves in the NBA Finals. Like, there is no reason to think that they can't duplicate what they did last night. I honestly think it was a little worrisome how easy it was. And, I've heard other people bring this up, and I guess I kind of try to ignore it a lot. But there's some times in the games where the Suns' offense is just like, where is it coming from? Like, if it's not Ayton dominating or Booker dominating this playoffs, and clearly CP3 doesn't have that level in him right now. Like, they don't have a lot of secondary scoring, like especially secondary creation. They get like the odd Campaign game where he will go off, but then sometimes he's just reverts back to normal. I don't think like Bridges is a guy that literally like Bridges and Cam Johnson are good shooters, but they're not going to the rack creating on their own a lot. And it just seems like that small ball defense fucked with them a lot. I don't know. What do you think going forward? Yeah, Game 6 tomorrow night. Do you have any first thoughts before we move on to the Game 4 tonight, Bucks Hawks?
I mean, my first thought in all these games is just I'm just waiting for the Woj bomb that says Kawhi Leonard's going to play. I don't think he's been ruled out just yet for tomorrow night's game. I mean, I've gotten to the point now in the series where I won't be surprised, but I am still kind of waiting on that just because he hasn't been ruled out indefinitely, right? And it seems like, the Clippers are doing everything they can to stay in it. And I'm just waiting for that to be the case where we have a Kawhi Leonard game. He can at least, even if he's not 100%, put some clamps on Book, who you mentioned is kind of one of the only guys who can, during crunch time right now, really take over a game. Because, I mean, I had eyes on Ayton last night because me and you had a player prop going on him. I've been high on his player props all series. And he just looked gassed, to be honest. I don't know if it was too many minutes. I don't know if it was because DeMarcus Cousins he actually had a pretty good game.
Yeah.
He was banging with him down low. I don't know what it was, but you're right. CP3 didn't look that great. And I don't know. I guess at this point going into next game, you just really can't count this Clippers team out. If PG plays the way he did last night, you got to give your credit to Ty Lue. Stephen A. Smith said today on ESPN that Ty Lue is the best coach in the league right now, which is, again, he's, Stephen A. always full of bold statements, especially this time of year. It's when people are tuned in the most to hear all these takes. But, I mean, at some point, Ty Lue does need his credit. They took out the number 1 seed in the Utah Jazz without Kawhi Leonard, and now they are fighting for their lives back against the wall. Gets the most out of his star player in Paul George. And before we look ahead to next game or start to get into Bucks Hawks here, what I do, of course we talked about Paul George's stat line and how great he played last night. Something that I was really impressed with. And maybe Clippers fans don't like it when he's playing poorly, but even after, a turnover or a bad shot or bad pass, whatever it was, the next trip up, if he had a mismatch or if he had a defender on him that he thought he could expose, he was calling for the ball every single time. And you got to respect that. At least he wasn't taking himself out of the game after poor plays. Yeah, I mean, the Clippers essentially did everything right last night. They came out with the fire. As you mentioned, they got the spark from Marcus Morris. People are actually speculating that it's Markieff because Marcus was banged up at the beginning of the series. Maybe they did the twin swap. But regardless, I think –
shit, bro. I didn't even think about that.
Next game, I think we may have another showdown. PG and Reggie, obviously, they have to keep doing what they've been doing, but I'm still keeping my fingers crossed. I know Ty B is too. For a
shout out Ty B.
Return. Yeah,
Ty B heard us all talking shit in the group chat last night and got to.
He never lost faith. He never lost faith.
He got to send clips in 7 right at the end there. You know what? That's a great can't front. That's gonna be a great game tomorrow night in LA. I feel like we're shaping up for a Game 7 of the series, which is what it deserves, to be honest. And then Kawhi, maybe he oils up his knee a little bit, shakes it out, put some new screws in, and gets his robot ass on the court and puts up a performance. I don't know.
Batteries.
Who knows, dude? That'd be. I want to believe that he's coming.
As far as I know, he hasn't been ruled out.
I know they're so sneaky with it. That's the annoying part, is that they're so sneaky with it. Cool.
And like, is it just like him? Like, is he just calling the shots? Like,
oh yeah,
like
I
don't know. Pretty crazy.
I don't think Kawhi gets told what to do anymore. But anyways, let's go. Let's get into tonight. As we know, Trae Young out in this game. 8:30 tip off. The Bucks 9-point favorites. Up to from earlier, it was about 6.5.
Breaking news here, actually. DraftKings Nation. I looked it up because we were talking about it. NBA injury alert. Clippers small forward Kawhi Leonard knee has been ruled out for Wednesday's game versus the Suns.
Okay.
Zubac
Right.
questionable.
So maybe he is done, and they're just stretching it out as long
So
as
we
possible.
gotta see the PG and Reggie show one more time. But yes, let's get into Bucks
Playoff
Hawks
pack your
tonight.
shit. We're going to LA.
Yeah.
Do we have to? Do we? What do you? I mean, is this even like? Is there any way that the Atlanta Hawks, without Trae Young, without DeAndre Hunter, with Bogdan Bogdanovic on like one leg, can they somehow upset the Milwaukee Bucks? They're at home. Quavo's going to be courtside. Can they put Quavo on the court? Just have him run point. He's put up some good celebrity performances. I mean, it wouldn't be the worst option.
That wouldn't be the worst option. I mean, he'd probably shoot a better percentage than Bogey. He's been struggling hard. And as I was writing the notes for this, who do they even have a guy? I mean, they don't have a guy like Trae Young who can impact the game like he can. They don't have another ice Trae. There really isn't another ice Trae in the league. But my first thought was the offensive player that's closest who can make an impact like him is Bogdanovic in my eyes. Yeah. And he has not been healthy. I mean, then you look at a Kevin Huerter who I know you're predicting a big night out of our guy, Kayvon, as they call him.
Kayvon. I'm looking. We got to see if these props are up here too. Give the people.
But
Kayvon needs them.
It's sad to say, but you lose a guy like Trae Young, who is almost single-handedly been carrying this Hawks team through every series in this playoffs. Their really only chance, in my opinion, tonight is if we see a collapse from the Milwaukee Bucks. Because, I mean, this happens in sports. You think you have an easy win, you come out flat, the Hawks get a big enough lead, and the Bucks can never get back into the game. But judging by the way the Bucks ended last game after that 113-102 victory on Sunday, where Chris Middleton had 20 points in the fourth quarter and the Hawks only had 17 in the fourth quarter, one guy outscored your whole team in a quarter. I'd like to think that the Bucks just have it tonight. It sucks. I wanted a good series. I wanted a deep playoff push from Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks because they've been so fun to watch. They took down Philly, which just put the biggest smile on my face for about a week straight.
You were really happy, yeah.
I was very happy about that. But yeah, it's tough. And maybe, there isn't much to discuss about the competitiveness of this game tonight, but do we have some more shit talking to do to these referees? Because Trae Young rolled his ankle on the ref's foot. Of course, it was an accident, but I mean, dude, I have never seen the refs in any sport get as involved as these refs in these NBA playoffs this year. I thought it was bad during the regular season, and now it is just getting – I mean, it's getting to the point where the broadcasters every night are roasting the referees as well.
Mm-hmm. Last night was pretty brutal. Last night was one of those games where you're like, oh, so the league's not letting the Clippers lose tonight. Like, any chance they get. Some of the calls in the fourth quarter just were like, oh my God, what are we doing here, bro?
Dude, it got to the point where I think it was Jeff Van Gundy was literally like, he thought a flagrant review was going to go one way. It went the other way. And then Mark Jackson was like, see, I told you so. And Van Gundy was literally like, well, just because the ref said it doesn't mean it's right. And it's true. Like, there's just like, it's so lopsided. There was, the flagrant call on Pat Bev. And then you had, I think, the flagrant on Jake Crowder when he basically just like put his palm to PG's face on a jump shot. It's like, what are these flagrants being called? And if you are going to call it, like, call it within the first 12 seconds you see it. Like, what you're going over there to look for. I mean, we could go into it forever. This got brought up about Trae Young. His was more unfortunate, but it's just like, how perfect of a storm was that? That, of course, the injury that's keeping Trae Young at a game 4 was, at the hands or at the feet, I guess, of a referee.
It's the refs one. It's like our on Pardon My Take when they're saying that the course wins in the golf tournaments, the refs win this title. The refs have won the NBA title already. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about the team. The refs have won the NBA title.
We need a meme of Scott Foster just hoisting up an NBA championship over his
Oh
head.
my God. Yeah, that would be if we were good could do Photoshop right away. You know what's great for that though? The little Snapchat cut things. We get something up quick.
Oh yeah.
Scott Foster though.
Yeah.
Scott Foster is Finals MVP. He is 100%.
Do we have him tonight?
No, it's Capers though. I don't remember this dude's first name. All I know is that Caper, I didn't like him the last time.
He hasn't been great either.
But
Shocker.
it might be in favor of the Atlanta Hawks tonight now, though.
True.
Without Trae Young, get one more interesting game. You get 6 games, no matter what out of this series. Then Atlanta's going to get a lot of calls tonight. Capella's going to have like 23 free throws.
Well, here's something we could break down. Actually, I guess before we break this down, this is a little something easier to go over. The spread, you mentioned it, -9 for the Milwaukee Bucks. You got them at -6 earlier, made out like a bandit. That was a great play. -9, what do you feel? You feel that's an easy cover tonight for the Milwaukee Bucks, or how are you feeling about that?
9 worries me a little bit. That feels like the range it's going to be is like a 10, like, because Atlanta – in games like this, when the stars are going off and everything, like the stars are out of the game, the team always makes some kind of effort at the beginning. Like it's going to be an inspired effort. I think this team, especially this Hawks team goes hard. Like they don't quit on anything. Like John Collins might be up for like a 30-something point game tonight. Herter, our boy Herter, I locked it in as we were talking there, looking it up. 13.5 for points on his prop. And 22 points, rebounds, and assists. So I think Herter could get 25 points on his own tonight without Trae Young.
I was gonna say that point sounds like a lock to me.
Something like that. I think I think the Bucks are gonna cover -9 though. I think it's gonna be like a 15-20 point win by the end of it. Maybe like 120 to 101, something like that. Ooh. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling similar to that. I don't know. I really am like trying to like picture it. And I want to say I can see, like maybe like a random Lou Will Gallinari game, because Gallinari had like 12 3-pointers against the Celtics this year. So I can just, in the back of my head, I can picture that dude getting buckets. So maybe it'll be tonight. I have, just long-time respect for the scorer that Lou Williams is and the bucket getter that he is. Mm-hmm. But I mean, at the end of the day, they just don't have the playmaking. Like we can talk about Trae Young scoring and that being eliminated, and them trying to fill that void. But who is going to get Capella involved? Who's going to get John Collins involved? Because those guys play so well in the playoffs. They've played so well in these playoffs because of Trae Young. I mean, he's averaging right around 10 assists a game to go along with the 30 that he gets nightly. Mm-hmm. So it really is tough to see. I'm with you though. I think we see a big Milwaukee Bucks victory, and the only way that doesn't happen is if they beat themselves and completely underestimate this undermanned Hawks team, which we've seen. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out flat. Like we saw the Brooklyn Nets do against the Bucks last series, almost every game. But it's a long game. I do not see the Bucks losing this one, and I think they'll win handily, like you said. So we got that covered. But I mentioned Middleton earlier. 20 points in the fourth quarter last game. Huge game from him. It was one of those classic Middleton games. He kind of disappears for a little bit of the series, and then all of a sudden, his turnaround jumper from the mid-range is Kobe. Then he gets the 3 going. Steven Jackson and Kendrick Perkins Perk has said it a couple times. Steven Jackson says he's been saying this. He says that Chris Middleton is the best player on the Bucks. Not best scorer, not best ISO Joe, the best player on the Milwaukee Bucks. They said that about this dude, Chris Middleton. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he was Batman to Giannis's Robin, right? Like there was some kind of quote I saw, something like that too. No, it's just no. Like I think Giannis has broke people's brains. Honestly, I think that's part of the problem with this, is that he's Shaq, right? Like that's really what he is. Like not act like. Eventually, there's going to be an argument that is like not like unlike our LeBron Jordan arguments that people are going to have about Giannis and Shaq because of the stats he's going to have. And if he has rings, if he gets rings, if this is his first year and he gets a couple of that, just because the pure physical domination, like there's nothing else like it. But Shaq needed a guard to close games out. Like Shaq was getting hacked at the end of games. Shaq couldn't generate offense. Like the NBA is not built hasn't been built for the big guys to dominate in the late stages of games not just since the last 10 years or the last 20 years, but the last 30 years, really. I mean, that's really what it's been set up as. You saw these teams have limitations in what they can do without a guard that can really drive the offense or a wing guy that can drive the offense. So yeah, like Middleton is good enough to get to those moments, but it's not like Middleton's putting up. We're never going to see Chris Middleton averaging like 34 in a series or something like that. I think that's what it comes down to. Giannis is putting up like 30, like he's putting up like 34 and 13 every damn game.
Yeah,
he's doing his part in the parts
plus
of the game. It's like
blocks,
he's not the closer.
1.5 steals. Yeah,
he's not the closer. And the thing about Giannis too is that he's never going to admit that he's never going to be like, oh, I should be getting the ball, all that shit. He's always going to be like, I'll give it to whoever. Like I don't give a shit. So
yeah, kind of. His after last game, his statement about Chris bothered me a little bit because you watch Bucks games so many times, and if Middleton isn't having a game like that, like he'll literally wave off everyone and just take like a irresponsible turnaround jumper in the post. But he's like, oh, like I'm getting it to Chris like anytime I can. I'm like, no, you're not.
No,
you are not doing that.
Not
but
quite.
Yeah, no, I don't. I get it. Like. I don't even get it, actually. I don't. Steven Jackson, Kendrick Perkins, I both respect them a lot. I love all the smoke with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes. Perk, I'm just always going to love him. He has some crazy takes.
He does.
I can't get it. I won't wrap my head around this. Not until Middleton proves a little more. He's a better scorer. He's better in the clutch. There's just so much that goes into being a great basketball player. And I mean, 2 MVPs. Giannis has 2 MVPs. Middleton doesn't. Like that can be the end of the argument for most people, right there. Like I don't think Chris Middleton is a better basketball player. I'm sorry, Steven Jackson. I'm sorry, Kendrick Perkins. Both great players, great scorer, like I mentioned, great in the clutch. But for me, not better.
No, we're in dead agreement there. All right, so we both got the Bucks tonight. No Trae Young. Let's see. I'm locked in. Kevin Huerter going for 70. Locked in over 13.5 points, over 22.5 points, rebounds, assists.
I took the
Jake
points,
Michael
rebounds,
watch.
assist. Yeah, I took the points, rebounds, assist.
We need to make it back from DeAndre Ayton last night.
I was gonna say we gave the people Ayton's rebounds. He was just shy. I think 1 shy last night. Hurts, stings. Kevin Huerter. I mean, you gotta love those. We saw he had. He's had a couple 25+ point games this postseason with Trae Young on the court. He's going to get a lot more shot opportunities. He's going to have a lot more time on.
He's going to get a lot more shot opportunities.
Oh, are you back?
I don't know. That might be a good take. That might be a good time to call it, anyways. What you said, shot opportunities.
Yes, he will get a lot of those, and he'll get a lot more minutes. So keep an eye out for that. Probably a Bucks win. But Kevin Huerter watch. Ron Weasley. The Ron Weasley watch.
Ron Weasley watch. Shout out Kayvon. All right. We got tip off in a couple minutes here. Go enjoy the game. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Kayvon. Go Hawks. Let's see how it goes tonight.
Later, guys.